Okay, let's start with something I think, well, a lot of us feel. That really warm, almost validating feeling when you know someone truly needs you.
Hmm.
Like you're their rock, the person they call the one who sort of fixes things just by being there.
Yeah.
And in that moment, you see yourself reflected back as, I don't know, strong, essential, someone who really, truly matters.
Right. And it's right there in that reflection that a lot of the confusion in our connections can start.
How so?
Because that rush, that feeling of being indispensable,
Yeah.
it feels so good, so comforting, that we often mistake it. We think, this must be love. Real, unconditional love.
But then sometimes there's this quiet, discomfort that creeps in later.
Exactly.
Maybe the person you've been supporting, they get stronger, they find their feet, or they lean on someone else for a change.
Yeah, the dynamic shifts.
And suddenly that reflection, that image of you being essential, it starts to fade.
Yeah.
And the loss you feel. It's not really about them getting better. It's more like a loss of yourself, a kind of private grief.
That internal shift, that's really the core pattern we need to gently unpack today. This mix-up, mistaking being needed for being loved. It's a very subtle kind of suffering.
It's subtle, yeah.
We tend to look for our sense of worth in these external roles, but roles, well, they change. They're not permanent.
So the mission today, what we're trying to do here, is look kindly at why we grab onto these roles, the fixer, the listener, the anchor, and maybe listen to that tiny scared whisper underneath it all. If I'm not useful anymore, will I still matter?
That's the question we want to sit with, to really go deep into the structure of that fear.
Okay, let's start there, with the why. Why do we cling so hard to being needed? It often feels so noble, right? Like pure selflessness.
It does on the surface.
But if you peel that back, what's really driving that intense desire to be indispensable? What's the psychological engine?
Well, the engine is largely the ego. But it's important to see the ego not as some kind of villain, but more like a protector.
A protector.
Yeah, a collection of habits, stories, defense mechanisms, all shaped by a fundamental fear. Its main job is survival, emotional survival. And for that, it needs a stable identity, something to hold on to.
I like that framing. A protector just trying to keep us safe from feeling, I don't know, adrift. Vulnerable, just existing.
Precisely. And in the sort of complex economy of relationships, the ego hits on a very clever, very seductive strategy. It starts equating our value with our utility.
Value equals utility.
It learns maybe really early on, okay, to be loved, to be safe, I need to do something. I must perform, produce, be required.
Yeah.
Which creates this, well, quite fragile identity structure.
Like, I'm the crisis manager, or I'm the only one who really gets them.
Exactly those kinds of things. And it feels important.
There was this great example of thinking about the friend who only ever calls when their life is kind of exploding. That really hit home.
Yes, that's a classic scenario. Let's look at that.
So they call you maybe late at night, total crisis mode. And the feeling you get, it's this quiet rush of importance, isn't it? Like, wow, I am needed. I matter right now.
Absolutely. You feel relevant, seen, crucial. And that sensation, it feels incredibly close to being valued, maybe even loved.
But the tricky part, the psychological challenge, comes after that, right? When they actually take your advice or things just get better for them.
Precisely. Their life stabilizes. They stop needing the emergency hotline.
Which is you.
Which is you. So what happens inside you when they start doing well? Maybe they call other people to share good news, or perhaps they just don't call as much at all.
Suddenly their lack of crisis becomes your crisis.
That's it. You haven't actually lost a friend necessarily, but you've lost the main way your ego was getting its validation fix.
Yeah.
That feeling of being unneeded hits like rejection, even if their independence was what you supposedly wanted for them.
So are you saying that maybe without even realizing it, we're operating on a kind of transaction?
In a way, yes.
And when the other person stops needing our service, we feel the pain because an invisible contract got broken.
That's a good way to put it. An invisible contract. And this reliance on the role, it can harden into what psychologists sometimes call clinging or attachment.
Clinging, okay.
Our love becomes less about the other person's freedom and growth and more about our attachment to the role, to that feeling of being indispensable. Clinging to the story that our worth is earned through constant service.
I can see how this plays out heavily in partnerships too. Like when a partner says, "Oh, I just don't know what I'd do without you."
Sounds comforting initially.
Yeah, we hear it as pure devotion, but what if keeping that devotion alive means you always have to shrink your own needs? or constantly manage their feelings, be their emotional regulator.
Then you're giving from a place of fear, aren't you? Not freedom.
You stop being a partner and become more of a caretaker.
Exactly. You end up sacrificing parts of your own self just to keep that balance, the balance that ensures you remain necessary.
Okay, but hang on. Isn't some level of needing each other okay in relationships? Healthy, even. How do we tell the difference between that toxic utility thing and just, healthy interdependence?
That's a really crucial distinction.
Yeah.
Absolutely vital.
Yeah.
Healthy interdependence is built on recognizing the separate whole value of each person. We support each other, yes, but it doesn't require one person to shrink for the other to stand tall. There's mutual respect for autonomy.
Okay.
Toxic utility or clinging is different. It's like my sense of worth is tied to your neediness, and maybe your stability feels tied to my constant performance. It gets tangled.
And the alarm bell is that feeling, that pang when they start to not need you as much.
Yes, that pang of anxiety or irritation or even abandonment when someone starts standing on their own 2 feet. That feeling isn't a flaw in you. Think of it as a sacred alarm bell.
Okay.
It's signaling, warning. You're looking for your value and stability somewhere outside yourself, in a place that can never be permanently guaranteed.
Wow. Okay, so it's not something to beat myself up about, but more like an invitation to look inward.
A difficult one, maybe, but yes, a necessary invitation. And it really pushes us to see the difference between giving from 2 very different places.
Which are?
Giving from emptiness, which is subtly about grasping. You're trying to earn something, love, validation, security, through what you do for others.
Right.
Versus giving from inner fullness. That's genuine generosity. When you have a sense of your own inherent worth, deep down you offer support freely. Not because you need a certain outcome or response, but just because you genuinely have warmth or strength to share. You have fire to spare, as they say.
This clinging, when it really takes hold, it creates this whole structure, doesn't it? Like an architecture of dependence. It sounds almost like a cage for both people.
It absolutely can feel like that.
Yeah.
What starts as genuine care can, harden over time. The giver becomes dependent on being needed for their own sense of self. And the receiver might, maybe unconsciously, learn to stay just wounded enough or unstable enough to keep that dynamic going, to keep the giver close.
So love becomes this silent deal, like, okay, I'll keep holding you up, I'll be your rock.
But only if you promise, implicitly, never to fully stand on your own. Because, frankly, I need this job.
Wow. And this is where that emotional rescuer archetype really finds its footing, isn't it? The person who prides themselves on being the strong one, the rock.
Yes, they thrive in that dynamic.
What's the fear underneath that, beneath that really solid-seeming exterior?
The deep fear there is often about invisibility, about irrelevance. Think about the quiet economy of the rescuer role.
Okay.
It often runs like this. Your pain confirms my purpose. Your chaos lets me feel in control. Your dependence makes me feel safe.
So the rescuer isn't actually afraid of the other person's suffering continuing.
Not always. What they might fear more is the silence if the suffering actually ends. Because in that quiet, empty space, they have to face that terrifying question. Okay, who am I actually when I'm not fixing someone else?
They fear being irrelevant more than the chaos itself.
The chaos is familiar. The ego often prefers a known pain to an unknown freedom. It feels safer, strangely.
Is there a way out? An alternative?
There is. Think about that lovely Zen story, the one about the monk and the injured bird.
I'm not sure I know it.
The monk finds a bird with a broken wing. He gently cares for it, feeds it, keeps it safe until wing mends.
Okay.
And then one day, the bird is strong enough and it just flies away. And the monk, he doesn't feel loss or resentment. He just smiles.
Why?
Because he held the bird with the intention of letting it go, not possessing it. His care wasn't about keeping the bird dependent. It was about restoring its freedom. That's the kind of non-attached care we're aiming for. Liberation.
Okay, non-attached care, that sounds liberating, but also maybe difficult. If we want to move towards that, how do we even begin? What are the first steps, practically?
The most powerful starting point is what we might call active seeing. It's essentially mindfulness, but applied specifically to our intentions and relationships.
Active seeing, like paying closer attention.
Yes, a gentle but really relentless internal inquiry. Starting to notice those tiny, subtle shifts inside ourselves.
Like what kind of shifts?
Like that little tightening in your chest when you do something helpful and you aren't thanked, or that flicker of quiet disappointment when someone ignores your really good advice. Or maybe that restless feeling when someone else steps in to help the person you usually rescue.
Okay. Those moments,
Yeah.
they're like data points, showing where the ego is getting hooked, where it's clinging.
Exactly. They are crucial signals, not failures, just information.
Right.
And they allow us to ask a different, more powerful question. Instead of asking outwards, why don't they need me anymore? We turn inwards and ask, what am I really afraid will happen to me if I'm not needed in this specific way?
That's a big shift.
It is, because that question can open the door to some real self-knowledge. It lets us trace the pattern back. Maybe we see, oh, maybe as a child I learned that love felt conditional on me being extra helpful or smart or compliant.
That reframing feels genuinely powerful. Okay, so let's make it really concrete. If we start noticing this fear, this pattern, what does real freedom look like in a relationship? Not cold detachment, but, liberation while still being connected.
It looks like non-attached care. And psychologically, it's deeply connected to the idea of differentiation.
Differentiation. What does that mean exactly?
In simple terms, it's the ability to maintain your own clear sense of self, your own core values, your own emotional center, even when you're very close and intimate with another person.
So holding on to yourself, even in deep connection, preventing that total merging that can lead to, well, codependency.
Precisely. When you practice this non-attached care, rooted in differentiation, you're basically able to say internally and externally, I am fully here for you, I offer my support, my love, freely.
Okay.
But my own fundamental peace, my own sense of worth, it doesn't rise or fall based on your response, or whether you take my advice or what happens next for you.
That feels like a much higher form of love, actually, because it doesn't suffocate. It doesn't come with strings attached or an invisible invoice.
Exactly. And if we can also recognize that our self isn't this fixed, solid thing, but more like a constantly changing river of thoughts, feelings, and roles,
Yeah.
then true freedom isn't about clinging to one perfect role like the needed one. It's about realizing that being useful was never the actual ticket price for existing, for being worthy of love.
So it's about caring consciously, asking in each interaction maybe, is this coming from my inner fullness or is it driven by that old fear of being invisible?
That's the litmus test, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when you can genuinely release that compulsive need to be essential, you give the other person an incredible gift.
Which is?
The permission to stand fully on their own 2 feet, unburdened by your need for their dependency.
That lands. That feels like the core realization here. We don't actually need to be needed in order to be loved.
No.
Love isn't, the performance of sacrifice we have to keep up, or a ledger of favors owed.
It's more of a state of being, unearned, freely flowing when we let it. Think of it this way. Your existence itself isn't some kind of transaction. It's inherently valuable. A miracle, even.
Okay.
And maybe true love, the really deep kind, is more like a meeting of 2 people who are already basically whole. They choose to share their warmth because they have inner fire to spare.
Not because they're desperately trying to use the other person's spark to keep themselves from freezing.
Beautifully put. When we stop trying to use relationships to fill that hole inside, that empty feeling, well, paradoxically, the void often starts to fill itself, not with noise or external praise, but with a kind of quiet, steady, internal presence.
And in that quiet presence, that's where love finally gets room to breathe. Released from the cage of needing to be needed.
Indeed. That's where genuine connection can truly flourish.
Okay. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you, our listener, with something to mull over this week. A final thought to carry with you. Ask yourself this. What remains when you are no longer needed? When all the roles you played, the helper, the fixer, the anchor, are retired, but you still choose to love? Is that open space you find inside just emptiness? Or could it possibly be the first taste of true fullness you have ever known?